Welcome to First Byte, our Detroit Lions preview podcast. It is already week 13, believe it or not. Your Detroit Lions are 8-3, I want to say. That sounds right. And it's Saints week, which is should be an interesting one. It's a reunion of sorts for Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, and a whole bunch of other people. But we are here to preview the game ourselves, talk about what we think is going to happen, break it down with a very special guest as well. My name, by the way, is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online. With me, as always, co-hosting this ship. Yes, you're getting co-hosting duties again on this ship, Ryan. Appreciate you. Senior editor of Pride of Detroit at Ryan_POD. Ryan Matthews is here.
It's always good to be promoted.
Up and down, you know.
It's always good to be promoted. Yeah. On top of the deck, below the deck, wherever you got to get the work in,
That's right. Speaking of getting into work, our special guest does a lot of work for all sorts of things New Orleans Saints related. He is a writer at Canal Street Chronicles, of course, our favorite SB Nation Saints blog. The only SB Nation Saints blog. I should just say my favorite Saints blog out there. He also works for ESPN 103.7 in Lafayette. Matt Miguez is here. Matt, thanks for joining us, man.
Okay. Really. There we go. What's going on, guys? Really happy to be here. Should be a really fun game between two. Well, let me not say two pretty good teams. One good team and one team that is struggling to find themselves and running out of time to do so.
And to be clear, that team, that the latter team, is okay. Just want to be clear because some Lions fans would confuse themselves with that second team, and I don't think that's true. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's start talking about the Saints team because they're certainly different than some Saints teams of the past, and that starts first of all with Derek Carr, the quarterback. First year there in New Orleans, signed a big 4-year, $150 million deal. How's that going?
To be honest, not great so far. You look at his numbers right off the bat, 2,535 yards. It's an average of about 220, 230 a game. That's not awful. It's not otherworldly either. You just look at the way that he's kind of progressed coming into this offense. There's clearly a disconnect between him and his receivers, between him and Pete Carmichael. And, it happened through the first 5 or 6 games, and you thought, okay, well, it's still early. He's still trying to adapt to the new system, get used to being in New Orleans, whatever. But now here we are in week 12, week 13, and it's still happening. So the Saints have to figure out, what's going to work with Derek Carr, because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. His dead cap this year is $60 million. And his contract isn't voidable until 2027. So you're kind of stuck. So you're going to have to figure out a way to make that work, whether it is a offensive coordinator change, whether it is a head coaching change, whatever has to happen in order for Derek Carr to feel more comfortable and be able to play at his best. The New Orleans Saints have to do that in order for this marriage to work, because right now you need couples counseling already.
Yeah, and speaking of couples counseling, I know that there's a sound bite and a clip that's kind of making its way through Twitter about Derek Carr and the struggles that the Saints offense has had in the red zone. What's really to blame there? Like, how much is it on Derek Carr? How much is it on coaching staff, rushing game?
So I'll just to add salt to the wound of the red zone inefficiencies. In their 3 games against divisional opponents, the Saints have had 32 total possessions. They have scored twice, scored touchdowns twice. Yeah. Both came in the same game against Carolina, and both came by a player who is no longer on the roster, Antonio Jones Jr. So nobody on the Saints currently has scored a touchdown against the divisional opponent this year. Just goes to show you. Today, general manager Mickey Loomis, who I have a ton of respect for, Mickey Loomis has built the New Orleans Saints as they are today, things of that nature. But when he was asked about the red zone woes today, he started spewing stats about how, well, the Saints are top 10 in getting into the red zone. Well, bud, that doesn't matter if you don't score. That doesn't matter. You get into the red zone 5 or 6 times against Atlanta. You end up settling for field goals on every single one. You throw a terrible interception to Jesse Bates that he takes to the house. You just haven't played very well inside the 20. I heard somebody say today that Derek Carr has been great at moving the football between the 20s. But inside the 20s, it has just not been very good. So I don't know, what that is, because you have weapons. Michael Thomas has been proven to be a top receiver in the league when he's healthy. Granted, he's on IR, but look, I said at the beginning of the season, if Michael Thomas could play 10 games this year, that would be a success. He played 10 games before he got hurt. So,
so you jinxed
call
him.
Call it what you want. Chris Olave is one of the brightest young receivers in the league. You've got Juwan Johnson, who's a respectable tight end, and then you guys know about Jamal Williams. But where has he been? That's a question we would all love to know. He gets what, 4 or 5 carries a game, if that? Like, you're not using him, and it makes zero sense. And we'll dive into that part later. But the red zone woes are incredibly concerning for an offense that on paper has a ton of talent.
Well, yeah, let's get into some of that talent too, because you mentioned no Michael Thomas. He's going to be on IR. The receiving core looking a little beat up this week. Rashid Shaheed, thigh injury, looks like he's not going to play this week. Chris Olave in the concussion protocol. He was limited today, so maybe he has a track to playing this week. So I guess if you have a feeling on Olave, what's your feeling on Olave? And if he's not going to go, who steps up? Who's out there?
I think he could go, but will he be 100%? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And that's tricky, right? Because when you're messing with a concussion, that's not something that you can ever take lightly. So we'll see what Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis decide to do with that. But if he does not go, I mean, your top target from a wide receiver standpoint would probably be A.T. Perry, the rookie out of Wake Forest, who had a 3rd round draft grade, and the Saints were able to get him in the 6th round. Most people considered that the steal of the entire NFL draft. But again, similar to Jamal Williams, he hasn't been getting used a whole lot. So maybe this will be an opportunity for him to be featured in the Saints offense. You've also got Keith Kirkwood, who's made some plays here and there for the Saints. You've also got Marquez Callaway sitting on your practice squad from the University of Florida. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets elevated should Chris Olave not be able to go. But yeah, a very beat up receiving core. The Saints, if they want to have any offensive success, they're going to have to rely on Alvin Kamara this week against Detroit. They're going to have to start using Jamal Williams a little bit more. And obviously Taysom Hill, because look, Taysom Hill is that one guy that teams just can't figure out how to stop. And it's crazy to me sometimes, because when he lines up in the shotgun, you know what's coming.
Right.
He doesn't throw the ball, he runs it. But teams still struggle to stop it. So if the Saints want to have offensive success, they're going to have to get away from the passing game a little bit, just because of how beat up the receiving core is, and really rely on the run game against Detroit.
Yeah, so let's talk about that run game a little bit, Matt, because, by some metrics, the Saints offensive line, pretty darn good, like 8th in DVOA's adjusted line yards. They're 15th in ESPN's run block win rate. But, the New Orleans backs are just averaging 3.8 yards a carry, and that's tied for 26. Like, is it a matter of talent in the backfield that's leaving some meat on the bone when it comes to some of those runs, or maybe some of those metrics for their, run blocking a little bit wonky?
Well, first off, let me just say that I think 3.8 yards per carry is pretty good.
It can be.
I'm kidding.
Okay. Okay.
That's awful. Okay. That's absolutely atrocious. No, I'm totally joking. No, I think part of the big problem here, guys, is Alvin Kamara is one of the most elusive, agile backs in the league, right? He's one of those guys that you want to throw dump passes to and get him out in space and let him use his speed and agility to beat opponents. But the Saints don't do that with him. They like to run him right in between the tackles and have him be a ground and pound runner, and he's just not built that way. And the New Orleans Saints offensive line has had some struggles. They started, kind of slow this season, and then they got hit with the injury bug. Ryan Ramczyk was out for a little while. Cesar Ruiz was out for a little while. Now Eric McCoy's a little bit banged up. Interested to see what he's going to look like this weekend if he can go. But they've played better over the last couple weeks, especially in pass protection. But just strictly in terms of the running game, I really think the biggest issue for me is the scheme. I have not been a fan of the play calling decisions that Pete Carmichael has been making in terms of the running game, because you've just become way too predictable. You're not getting to the outside. You're using Taysom Hill, in between the tackles a little too much. You fail to feature Jamal Williams. Lynn Bowden has been a nice surprise out of Kentucky when you can use him. But there's a real running attack issue. And could it be that Kamara's maybe lost a step and he's getting a little bit older? Maybe. Could it be that the offensive line isn't as good as the numbers indicate? Maybe. Pete Carmichael's play calling, I think, is a big part of it. But really, it's a little bit of everything just kind of coming together into one massive problem. But the Saints, for years, running the ball was their identity. You had Deuce McAllister and Pierre Thomas and all those guys. I mean, you ran for 200 yards a game. And the last couple of years, the Saints have struggled to hit those types of numbers. So hopefully that they can figure out a way to either fix that or make the changes this offseason in order to get back to that kind of identity, because I think that's been a big problem for them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's one of the big philosophies that Dan Campbell took from the Saints organization.
Yep.
is that exact thing, and the Lions are trying to run it for 200 yards every game. But I really think that matchup is going to be really interesting, really fascinating this week, especially if the Saints are like, all right, we're missing some receivers. Let's lean into the run game, because the Lions' run defense has been pretty darn good all year, but they're going to be missing a key piece this week with Alex Anzalone out. Which probably means a lot of Jack Campbell, probably means a lot of Derek Barnes, Ryan. I'm curious as to what you feel about that matchup, because, and then you throw Taysom Hill in there, and then suddenly, like, now every Lions fan is panicking because you've got a mobile quarterback, and that's something that the Lions have really struggled with. So, Ryan, is there any, I guess, consternation with you when it comes to the Lions' run defense this particular week?
I don't think so. Like, I feel if there's anything I feel confident about this defense's ability to do, it's to stop the run, right? Sure. And I know Alex Anzalone is a big part of that, but I think Derek Barnes has proved capable of run defense, and if there's anything that Jack Campbell, I think, has excelled at this year, it has been his run defense. Now, I mean, hey, if you're asking that guy to not go make a run defense tackle and go cover Alvin Kamara in space, that might be an issue. But so, I do have confidence in their ability to stop the run, but I think we kind of talked about it on the podcast with Eric earlier in the week, where, we talked about how that run defense and that philosophy and that identity and schematically, how that has maybe had an impact on their ability to stop the pass, right?
Sure.
And I think that's the concern with Anzalone being out, right? Is his ability in coverage this season has been unduplicated by anybody at that second line of defense.
And as a pass rusher, for that matter. He's kind of been that one guy that they like sending on blitzes. So let's go back to the passing game a little bit, because the Lions have really struggled against quarterbacks in general. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are. It doesn't matter how short-handed they are. The Packers were short-handed at the receiver position last week, and it didn't seem to bother Jordan Love too much. I guess first things first, the one thing that the Lions have really struggled to do is pressure the quarterback consistently. You have Aiden Hutchinson, but it doesn't seem like anyone else is consistently pressuring the quarterback. So how has that Saints offensive line, through all the injuries, done at keeping Derek Carr clean?
So, so far he's only been sacked 22 times on the year. That's about 2 per game. So honestly, not horrible. That and especially lately, they've done a nice job of protecting him. But I think a big problem with Derek Carr that I've especially noticed now that he's on the team that I watch every single day of the week is he stays in the pocket. way too long.
Hmm.
He takes way too long to make decisions. He is literally there are instances where I feel like he's frozen in time, because he will sit there and he'll go through his progressions 2 or 3 times, and you just can't do that in the NFL, because pass rushers like Aiden Hutchinson, like Alex Anzalone when he's healthy, those guys are going to get to the quarterback. There's going to come a point where your offensive lineman just can't hold the block anymore without getting a holding call or a hands to the face call or whatever it may be. So Derek Carr's got to do a better job of making quicker decisions, going through his progressions. And if it's not there, he has the ability to take off running. Is he the fastest quarterback in the world? No. But can he get away for 4 or 5 yards and keep the drive moving? Absolutely. And he fails to do that. So I would really like to see the Saints kind of, figure out a way to incorporate that part of his game, because that's what leads to so many sacks. That's what leads to so many of his turnovers. And that's what kills drives for the New Orleans Saints. We talk about how well they move the ball inside the 20, but once you get into the red zone, they kind of start to struggle, because Derek Carr takes too long most of the time to make a decision.
Yeah, so Matt, I guess maybe kind of looking at the Saints offense and where it's had its pitfalls and where maybe it's had its successes in bits and pieces here and there. Like going up against this Lions defense, what's something that you're looking for the Saints to do this week, and what's something that you're kind of worried that they might struggle with?
Is it a cop-out for both answers to be score points?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because that's pretty important to winning football games.
I want them to score points. You look at it, they score 15 points, but it's because your kicker kicked 5 field goals. You failed to find the end zone against your bitter rival. That's just unacceptable. So yeah, I want to see this offense be able to cash in the red zone and put points on the board. But at the same time, like you mentioned, I'm afraid that they're not going to be able to do it again. Just because, especially now, it's going to be even harder this week because of how many people you're going to be missing due to injury. Michael Thomas is on IR. Alvin Kamara is a little bit beat up. Chris Olave is probably not going to play because of a concussion. Rashid Shaheed has already been listed as doubtful, I believe, with that thigh injury. He's unlikely to play. So you're missing weapons all over the place. So can Jamal Williams step up against his former team and play well? Can the Saints find a way to incorporate Jimmy Graham into the offense, who has been an absolute non-factor? How does that look this week when you return to the Superdome for one of 3 straight games against the Lions, the Panthers, and the Giants? Those are 3 winnable games. Now, the Lions is the least winnable of them, but the Saints should finish this homestand 7-7. And if they don't, there's going to be a serious problem. But it's got to start Sunday by putting points on the board, staying consistent with your drives, both offensively and defensively. Don't let the defense, stay out there for 11, 12 plays. Like I've noticed Detroit likes to do. You guys like to run long drives and methodically move the football down the field. You've got to limit that if you're the Saints defense. And we'll dive deeper into that, a little later on. But definitely, take advantage of opportunities when you're in the scoring zone to cash in and put points on the board, because points are going to be hard to come by in this one.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to flip the script. We are going to talk about that Lions offense going up against this Saints defense. When we come back here on First Byte, we'll be right back. All right, let's take a quick break and thank all of our subscribers. We got a donator in here as well. First RGA 418. Thank you for the 14-month subscribe to us on Twitch. Says you could have signed Dre Bly. What does that mean? What's that in reference to?
I have no idea, but I feel like we're just in a time machine because Matt mentioned Jimmy Graham.
Right.
And I was like, is it November 29th, 2023 or...
Liam 919191 12-month subscribe to the channel, says say cuff backwards. Nice try. Absolutely not. Force Awake.
Oh God.
See, so really quick, Matt, like we're running a fundraiser this year, this month I should say, we're raising money for the Alzheimer's Association. We're up to $18,000. Every time I swear I have to donate 10. That what 10?
Oh.
So
Nice.
They're trying to get me, but it's not working. Force was taken again. Thank you for the subscription, the first time subscription and the follow. Appreciate that. And Celestial Soldier, 18 months subscribed to us on Twitch. We did also get a $50 donation to the Alzheimer's Association. Who wants to mute Ryan? Guy Utah does. I don't know when. If you're here, Guy Utah, do you want that to be right now?
Could be, but I'm not even Ryan Matthews right now on stream, so.
Oh crap!
Does that count?
No. Here, I'll fix that. There you go. We are, by the way, $285 away from another spin on the Wheel of Pain. What do you mean I love to trash? I would never trash. I love Jamal Williams. I may have tweeted today that he has, 2.9 a carry? But my tweet was about the offensive line and how much that clearly matters. And usage, right? As Matt was saying, like he's getting 3 yards a carry now. It's insane. Or 3 carries a game, I should say.
Yeah. Plus he had that early early season stint on IR, right? And I mean, that's tough, coming back from something like a soft tissue injury.
He has 47 carries on the season.
That's crazy.
That's almost
0
touchdowns as he had last year.
Right. 0 touchdowns so far this year, which Jamal Williams, 0 touchdowns, struggling in the red zone. It seems like the solution is right there in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably just put the ball in Derek Carr's hands and let him cook.
Please no. Please no.
All right. Let's get back into it. We'll take a short quick break here so that we can get this thing moving. All right. Give me a second and we will jump right back into it. And we are back here on First Byte with Matt Miguez of Canal Street Chronicles. We talked about the Saints offense going against Lions defense. Now let's flip the script. Let's talk about the Lions offense versus the Saints defense. And much like the Lions themselves, the Saints defense really seems to be a tale of 2 halves. Started out really, really solid. Not so much in the past 5 or 6 games. In fact, 16.0 points per game allowed in the first 6 games. That is all the way up to 25.2 in the last 5 games. So what happened, Matt? Why the fallout?
So, it's really interesting when you look at it, right? You look at those 16 points per game through the first 6 games, and it's a little skewed, honestly, because you look at it, you gave up 15 to Tennessee. You gave up 17 to Carolina. You give up 18 in that horrible loss to Green Bay that I still have nightmares about.
Yeah, we're not happy about that one either, Matt.
Right. I can about imagine. But then you shut out New England, which, I mean, it's New England, but that's going to skew your average because you zeroed them. But look, you're absolutely right. The defense played really well through the first, 6 weeks of the year, and then things have kind of fallen off. Through the first 8 games, I believe, they led the league in turnovers. And over the last couple weeks, they've really struggled to get turnovers. I know Tyrann Mathieu had 2 against Atlanta on Sunday, but, that Minnesota game, you didn't really force any turnovers. So I would like, when you're looking at the Saints defense, it really starts up front. Cam Jordan, as much as Who Dat Nation loves him, franchise leader in sacks, great guy in the community, all this stuff, you can tell that he has taken a major step back this year. He just has not played very well. And you're starting to see the issue with letting Trey Hendrickson walk away 3-4 years ago, right? You let him go get a bag in Cincinnati, and he has played phenomenally for the Bengals. And Saints fans kind of sit here now wondering, why the hell did you ever let that guy walk out? Alex Anzalone, kind of the same thing. A lot of people didn't like what he was doing in New Orleans, but he was so young when he was here. There was so much potential and so much promise there, and you just let him go. But a bright spot has been Carl Granderson, up in the middle. He's really made some things happen. I want to say he's up to 6 sacks on the season. Brian Bresee, the rookie first rounder out of Clemson, has had some bright spots as well. So highs and lows with the Saints defense, but the last couple of games just giving up too many points. You give up 24 to Atlanta, you gave up 27 to Minnesota, you gave up 27 to Indy in that win, and then you gave up 31 to Jacksonville. Look, it's not a recipe for success in the NFL to have to score 30 plus points a game in order to win. So the defense has to figure out a way to get that point total down, or else that 5-6 record that we have right now is going to turn into 7-10 real quick.
Yeah. So Matt, does it really seem like the Saints have a kind of set list of priorities of things they want to accomplish on defense? We kind of talked about it, in the first segment with the Lions, like, they want to stop the run. They want to stop the run. And sometimes it almost comes to a fault of defending the pass. What's kind of their identity on defense? Like what can they stake their claim to? I know, like you said, they have a bunch of veterans, right? I mean, they got Cam Jordan, they got Demario Davis, like they have guys, but it's like, maybe they're starting to lose a step. Are their priorities kind of falling? Are they falling into a trap because of what they used to be able to do really well? Correct. They can't do so much anymore.
I think the whole team is kind of falling into that. But the defense, absolutely. You're relying on these older guys. You brought up Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu back in the secondary, Cam Jordan, and these guys just aren't the same players that they were 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? They're starting to creep into their mid-30s. Their bodies are starting to shut down on them. They're just able to have the same impact on games that they had over the last couple of years. And the problem is that the way the Saints defense is designed right now, you need them to, because who else are you going to turn to? Especially now that Marshawn Lattimore is on the IR, like who is going to be that guy for your Saints defense? Alontae Taylor has been a bright spot in his second year out of Tennessee, playing that kind of nickel corner spot. Paulson Adebo's had a really strong third season after a really bad second year. Marcus May has shown, flashes of brilliance over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, the defensive identity, to be honest, Ryan, I don't know that I could, because there's games where really good at stopping the run, but then they give up 250, 300 in the air, and then there's games where they completely shut down the quarterback, but their running backs are gashing you. So it's kind of mix and match depending on the game plan, depending on who you're playing against, which sometimes can work for you, but sometimes it really comes back to bite you. And I think you're seeing a lot better with this year's Saints team. And it's really concerning because you have a defensive-minded head coach. You basically have a second defensive coordinator. Your defense has kind of been downfall the last couple of weeks.
Sounds like an LA Chargers type of situation, and that's coming. That's coming from a Brandon Staley fan. So I feel you. But yeah, it's tough because you kind of just tackled it there. But to me, I always like to jump into the advanced metrics and try to figure a team out before I even jump into the film. And when I look at the Saints run defense, I don't know what I'm looking at, because if you look at EPA allowed, they're 6th. If you look at DVOA, they're 22nd. You look at yards per carry, there's 4.6 is 26th. So is it crazy inconsistent week to week? Are they more bad than good? Are they more good than bad? How do you see this run defense? Because again, this is what the Lions are going to try to do on Sundays. They're going to want to run the ball.
It's just crazy inconsistency. When you played the Colts a couple weeks ago, you won that game. But Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss thrashed you. Mm-hmm. You gave up. I want to say you gave up 190 rushing yards as a team that game. You just can't do that. And And then there's been games where, you play against the Bears or you play against the Falcons and they don't thrash you as much from a ground game, but they find ways to beat you in the air. And it's one of the things where the crazy inconsistency has kind of lost you some games, especially that Green Bay one that we brought up earlier. I mean, it's 17-0 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
How do you lose? Like that doesn't make any sense. I turned the game off. I said, look, we're up 17. I've got other things I need. Like, we're good. No. So it's just that inconsistency has kind of been the kryptonite for the Saints. And I think it's because it's the two extremes, right? You have the super old vets or you have the super young, inexperienced rookies. There's no in between. So I think the Saints, and I hate the term rebuild, but I think the Saints kind of just need to retool a little bit. Do right. I told somebody this the other day. I think you should do right by Cam Jordan. I know he doesn't want to leave. I know he loves the Saints. But see if he wants to go get a ring. See where you can to get him a ring before he retires. Same thing with Demario Davis. Like see what you can do in order to get those guys, in better position. Because my thing is this: if you are transparent with the fan base, because I don't know if you guys seen on Twitter, but the Saints fan base is really frustrated right now. A fan base is going to be a lot more patient with you if you are transparent with the fact you are going through a retool, a rebuild, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're hiring from within and keeping all these guys from when your Super Bowl window was open because you think you're just a piece or two away when you're not, that's when the fan base gets frustrated. And that's what you're seeing right now with the Saints. You hire Dennis Allen to keep the continuity from the Sean Payton regime. You bring in a quarterback that's, let's be honest, he's very similar to Drew Brees. He's not as good as Drew Brees was, but he's similar players, right?
Right.
And so you're trying to kind of keep that rolling when in actuality, I think the Super Bowl window for the Saints closed probably 3 years ago. So it's just, you got to get younger. You've got to get, a little more experienced at the same time, which I know kind of contradicts itself, but, the Saints just have some major fundamental issues that there's only one thing that will fix them, but I don't know if the Saints are ready to go through it.
Mm. Well, so Matt, one thing that New Orleans defense can do is they force turnovers, man. Yep. Like they've forced 20 turnovers this season. And Jeremy, I know he's got something coming to your inboxes tomorrow if you subscribe to the Pride of Detroit Direct. But if you want to talk turnovers, right? That's been the it's been the bugaboo for the Lions offense the past couple of weeks. So yep. How much of that, Matt, has been like sustained like over the course of the season? Consistent, I know that's a word that you keep on using. Like, have the Saints been consistently able to force turnovers, or do they seem to come in bunches maybe, or were a bunch of them against the Patriots when they shut them out?
So it feels like it comes in bunches, because you look at the Chicago game a couple weeks ago where you won 24-17. Believe it or not, the Saints forced 5 turnovers in that game. Tyson Bagent threw 4 interceptions that day. The problem was that of those 5 turnovers, the Saints scored 0 points.
Jeez.
You didn't score a single point off of those 5 turnovers. So, yeah, you look at the game against New England, you were able to force a couple turnovers. Mac Jones threw 2 picks. You got 2 picks on Sunday against Atlanta. So they've kind of been spread out, but then there's also been games where they've come in bunches. I mean, just those 3 games, that's half your picks for the season right there, or that's half your takeaways for the season right there. But the thing with the Saints that's been so interesting, especially defensively, is the way that the secondary has played. That's probably been the bright spot for your team. And at least for me, coming into the season, that was one of my big question marks. Because Paulson Adebo had such a bad sophomore season last year. He was awful. What was he going to look like in year 3? Alontae Taylor had a great rookie year, very similar to what Paulson Adebo did. Was he going to slump in his sophomore season? Marshawn Lattimore, could he stay healthy? Could he be the leader of this group? Tyrann Mathieu as the veteran presence. Marcus May coming in. He had a bunch of off the field issues. There were a lot of storylines to look at with the Saints secondary. So it was a big question mark for me. But then they've actually probably been the bright spot of this group. And yeah, they've done a really nice job of forcing turnovers, like you mentioned. And this is no fault to the defense. I've got to see the Saints capitalize on those turnovers.
Yeah.
Because 5 turnovers against Chicago, but 0 points. Like you forced 5 turnovers and still could have lost the game. Like Chicago had the ball with 2 minutes left and had the opportunity to go tie it. And things like that is what keeps you up at night as somebody who covers this team, because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So yeah, the turnovers have been a positive spot, but it's kind of hard to be super hyped up and happy about it when the team as a whole hasn't been able to take advantage of them.
Really quick before we move to our prediction, you mentioned the secondary and how they may be playing above expectations, but Marshawn Lattimore on IR,
Yep.
Marcus May didn't practice today, dealing with a shoulder injury. If May doesn't play, and obviously Lattimore won't, what's your level of confidence in that group going into the Lions game?
I'm still confident because you got Alontae Taylor, you've got Paulson Adebo. I like what I've seen out of Jordan Howden, the rookie out of Minnesota. He's had some big moments. And then there's a young guy that a lot of people probably don't know his name. His name's Isaac Yeadham. He's been mostly a special teams guy for the Saints, but he's shown up big in some moments this season. So he's there if the Saints need him. He's more of a corner, so I could see him probably filling in Marshawn Lattimore's spot. But yeah, I mean, I'm confident that they're going to be able to kind of make things interesting for Jared Goff. But you guys have so many weapons. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams still, kind of emerging. And then a guy, we haven't even talked about this yet, but the Saints have struggled over the last year or so to stop tight ends. And Sam Laporta has been incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So look, Dan Campbell, I don't know if you're listening, but throw the ball to Sam Laporta like 15 times a game and you're going to win. You will win on Sunday because the Saints just cannot stop tight ends. They have not been able to stop tight ends this year. And historically, they've done a nice job of that defensively. But this year has just been a completely different story. So Sam Laporta is kind of my X factor in this game. How are the Lions able to get him involved? Because if he can get 8, 9, 10 catches for 100-something yards and a touchdown or two, the Saints are in big trouble.
Sure. I'm sure you don't have to convince Dan Campbell too much to use his rookie tight end too
Right.
much. But let's this perfectly kind of leads into the one thing I think I know, which is our prediction segment where we make predictions, not necessarily of the winner or loser, but just one thing that we think is going to happen on Sunday. Ryan always kicks us off, and this week will be no different. Ryan, what is the one thing you think you know about Lions Saints?
Oh boy, the one thing that I think I know about Lions Saints. You guys know this, like we don't go through any like rehearsals or anything. So like Matt totally stole my Sam Laporta.
My bad, man.
You can just it wasn't necessarily a prediction for Matt.
No, it wasn't. It was a good piece of analysis from
Yeah.
Matt. But let me just stick with it then, I guess. I'm gonna say that scrap it.
Put a
Scrap
number
it.
on it.
No,
Okay. All right.
no. Shifting. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Lions pass rush.
Uh-huh.
I think they're gonna sack Derek Carr 4 times.
Wow.
Look, I'm not
big
even
prediction?
I'm not even gonna lie. I wouldn't be surprised because Aiden Hutchinson, man, he's one of those players that he can just flip a switch and have 2 sacks in a game.
Yeah.
And would I be surprised if that happened this Sunday? Absolutely not. So yeah, I mean,
Derek Carr feels like the first quarterback this team has faced that's been relatively immobile, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I think the other thing though too, like, yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm feeling a little Lee McNeil this week too.
Oh, okay. A little interior pressure. That'd be nice. Have a 2 or 3 sack game from him. That would be, I mean, listen, that group has to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, right? They've been under fire in the media. They've been under fire by fans. Yep. Crazy inconsistent. So if there's an emotional aspect to performance, they certainly have that on their side this week. But Matt, I'm going to throw it to you next. What is the one thing you think you know about Lions Saints?
Blake Grupe will kick 2 field goals.
He's kind of injured though too, right? He's limited.
Yeah, he's a little banged up. They actually signed Austin Siebert.
Oh, that's right.
To the practice squad.
Former Lion.
So we'll see how that works out. But if Blake Grupe plays, he kicks 2 field goals. I'm not gonna say he makes 2 field goals.
Oh,
he kicks 2 field goals. Look, I love Blake Grupe. I was a fan of keeping him over Will Lutz. I advocated for that in the preseason. I know people are mad that he's had a couple of games where he's missed 1 or 2 kicks, but for the season, he's still hovering about 80%. And for an undrafted rookie free agent, I'll take 80% in his rookie season. Like I'm okay with that. But yeah, he's been kicking just a little too much. I think that continues on Sunday. And also if I can add a second one,
yes, love it.
Jamal Williams will have double-digit touches.
Okay, I like that. And then you know what?
Double-digit touches.
I'd be happy for him, honestly, because we all stand for Jamal. He's been on our podcast a couple times. He's also just an incredibly nice and humble dude.
Yeah, he's great.
So yeah, let's give Jamal a game. Don't give him the win, but let's give him a game. The one thing I think I know is that the Lions are going to come back and hang 30, at least 30 on the Saints. I feel like I'm sorry, Matt. If you're listening on the podcast, Matt just gave a very pained face. But I look, you know, we pointed out how the Saints defense has struggled as of late, and I think part of that, it's not just the fact that they're going in the wrong direction. It's that they're starting to play like Jacksonville's a good offense. I wouldn't call Indy a good offense, but they hung 38. Chicago's not a great offense. They hung 24. Minnesota's not a great or 17 against Chicago. 27 with Minnesota. And so I'm just looking at this Lions offense. They're also going to come into this game with a chip on their shoulder with, 7 turnovers in 2 games. I don't know. I think the turnover thing is a little bit fluky. I know New Orleans forces a lot of turnovers. But the only way this team is turning the ball over is if their offensive line struggles. And again, another chip on your shoulder game for the offense. It got humbled by the Packers defensive line. You might have Jonah Jackson back, which means your offensive line is fully healthy for just the 3rd game this season. You keep Jared Goff clean, you should be okay in this game. So I think the Lions hang 30 on the Saints this week. All right. Before we get out of here, Matt, I always want to give our guests an opportunity to promote their stuff, where they can find you, what sort of content is available out there for Lions fans, for Saints fans. So the floor is yours, Matt. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MiguezMatt. Of course, you can find my work with Canal Street Chronicles at canalstreetchronicles.com. And if anybody in the Detroit area is a fan of LSU or the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, Tracy Walker, by the way,
yeah,
Raging Cajun.
That's right.
I love Big T, but if you care about them at all, you can head to ESPNSouthwestLouisiana.com and catch my stuff there.
There you go. All right, Matt. Really, really do appreciate you hanging out, talking some football with us. We wish you as much good luck as it takes to lose by 1 point.
Right. Guys, I appreciate you having me on. Next time the Lions and Saints play, let's do it again.
Sounds good, man. All right, before we get out of here, to you, listener, a last reminder here that we are getting towards the end of our Movember campaign where we are raising money for the Alzheimer's Association. We're also raising money for the Humane Society. That auction ends this Thursday, right around midday. So if you want to get on some of our auction items, head to pridedetroit.com. I'll have the auction item post right at the top of the page. Make sure you get on that. And then on Tuesday, December 5th is going to be our all-day charity marathon stream on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and youtube.com/@Pride of Detroit. We're going to have a ton of awesome guests. We're going to talk Lions football all day. We're going to write on our face. We're going to crack eggs on our head. We're going to eat gross stuff, all for the name of charity. So make sure you're there. We want to try to break last year's record. But until then, for Ryan, for Matt, for everyone listening at home, it's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
All right. The recorder's off, but as I said, Matt, we are still live, but you are free to go, man, and really do appreciate all the awesome info and the honesty, too, because, listen, sometimes we get Packers writers on here, and they just think their team is...
I'm not going to sugarcoat it as much as... the reason I'm not going to sugarcoat it is how much I love this team.
Yeah.
If they're not playing well, I'm going to say they're not playing well.
That's the attitude to have.
But good luck the rest of this year. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Matt.
Yeah. Hopefully we give you a loss.
Dang. He didn't even hear you say that.
He was out. I was going to say, hopefully we give you a loss so you get one loss closer to Jaden Daniels.
Oh.
I know all the Saints fans are like, we want Jaden Daniels in the draft.
Who's that?
He's LSU's quarterback.
Oh. Yeah, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. We got a couple donations during that segment, so let me shout out those people. Bearded Rip. Hey, I know you. $50 donated to the Alzheimer's Association. And K Fletch, $25 says, fantastic work, guys. Love everything you do, especially for a great cause like Alzheimer's. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for all you're doing. Because honestly, $25, more than enough. Like if we can get $25 from everybody watching, from everyone that goes to Pride of Detroit, we're going to kill last year's record. Just absolutely destroy it. So
Murder.
It's very violent.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're using such violent language.
Premeditated.
Okay.
Because we planned this.
Okay.
charity.
So first degree.
Yeah. Life without parole.
That's right. Weird. K Fletch also, if you are still here, K Fletch, I see that you want us to write Tishmanga Biaka Batuka on one of our faces, which I respect because he, like, I think going back to elementary school, he was I was in elementary school when he was the Michigan running back. Also, I respect that you took your time out to probably spell it right. The question now, though, is do I write that now when we're about to end stream, or do I save it for the Madden Sim?
I think save it for the Madden Sim.
I feel like I got to save it for the Madden Sim.
You're not going to get your money's worth.
K Fletch, if you're going to be here for the Madden Sim, we'll do it 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. And I will have that written on my forehead if I can, if I can fit it. You know, my hairline isn't receding yet, but if it is, I'll have more room.
We'll find out how much it's receding.
That's right.
When it gets shaved.
No.
That's what I meant by that. So you walked right into that rake.
You can save it. Okay, cool. Thanks, K Fletch. We are $210 away of spinning the wheel of pain, and I will give you guys until the top of the hour. I will give you until 9 o'clock, 6 minutes to get there. If not, we're going to end stream. So just putting that out there.
Just putting that out there. You know, and I'll be here for the next 6 minutes while I finish up some work that needs to get done.
Yep. I still have some of that work to do myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what to say. Like it's been so long. It's been a full week since the Lions game already. I feel like I have nothing left to talk about with the Lions. Like, I know we're shifting into Saints mode, but the Saints are just like, I mean, I think Matt kind of nailed it. They're such an inconsistent team that it's hard to know where the advantages are and where they aren't. It's hard to know how good.
I'm just really glad.
What?
I'm really glad you said that out loud because like that's why I'm still writing, because I'm like, is this team good or are they bad? Like what? Like, because that was even like the first question I asked for 5 questions was like, you know, like Yeah, Derek Carr, like, I mean, he's thrown for still like close to, I think it was like 2,500 yards so far this year. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, my kind of like my view of it was like, has he brought like stability? Because he's not turning the ball over a ton.
Right.
Like, has he brought like stability to their offense? But at the same time, they're like they're like towards the bottom third in like explosive plays, right? Like,
Yeah.
they just don't have any like big pop off plays. But again, that kind of goes to like Alvin Kamara maybe losing a step, and we know Jamal Williams isn't that guy either. So,
Right.
like is it nice to have a guy who like isn't, and Saints writers like, no, I hate it, stupid, it's dumb. Like,
Yeah, no, that's the talking to Matt both during the stream and before we went live. Saints fans are in a bad place right now. Worse than Lions fans. They do not feel good about the team right now. They think they're trash. And listen, like, you look at their resume.
They're a half game.
They're a half game out, but they're in a trash division. They just lost to the team that they're a half game out from, which is not great. And
they
you look
play
at
week 18.
You look at their wins: Tennessee, Carolina, New England, Indianapolis, Chicago.
Not a great resume.
No, it's a bad resume. They've lost to Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Houston, Jacksonville, Minnesota, and Atlanta. It seems this is the toughest team they've played yet. The Lions. Maybe Houston. Depending on your opinion of Houston. Or in Jacksonville, maybe.
Oh, ooh. Big CJ Stroud guy.
I mean, he's playing well. And so I feel like I should be confident in this game, but at the same time, there's not one portion of this team that's just like awful. They're all just like, eh.
I know. So that's where it's like, where do the Lions take advantage of this? And I think, and that's why I said, like, Matt was right. Like, I think it's Sam Laporta. Like, I don't know, but even then, it feels like this Lions offense doesn't seem like an offense that would just like continuously feed
one player,
like a specific player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Unless it's Amon-Ra. But I mean, the good news is that if Jared Goff, Jared Goff, who's his safety blankets? It's Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta.
Mm-hmm. So. But it's like, do the Lions even want to do that? Like, why don't they just run the ball a ton? But then again, I don't know. Is the Saints' run defense good or is it bad?
I don't know. Atlanta ran for 200 on them last week, but...
And we all know that Gibbs is better than Bijan Robinson.
Not according to ESPN's top team under 24.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, okay. But so what about the Falcons' wins? They beat the Panthers. They beat the Packers by 1 miraculously.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Texans. That's impressive. And they beat the Saints. Yeah. Like, I don't think the Falcons are any good either.
No.
Like,
but isn't that kind of the point? Like, that division is trash.
It is, yeah. But it's I guess it's still weird to hear, because like even doing 5 questions and even talking to Matt, it's like, dude, like the division's like still in play. Like you could still make the playoffs. Sure. Yeah, like your team might go to the playoffs and get decapitated, but like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I get the frustration with mediocrity. I guess we're just so far removed from that.
Yeah.
Like I guess we're like 2 whole regimes removed from Jim Caldwell.
As I think Jim Rome likes to say, give me an A or give me an F. C's are boring. That's the Saints. The Saints are like a C- team right now. And the Lions are like a B+.
Yeah. I guess it's just figuring out where the Saints ceiling is, right? Like how good could they play on Sunday?
On any given day. Yeah. I don't know, but they haven't beaten a good team yet.
They haven't. Did the Packers beat a good team before they played the Lions?
No comment.
I know. I was gonna say
Why?
The same thing.
Why are you doing this?
I know. I don't mean to do this. I'm not meaning to do this, but it was kind of like the same. Just me saying that made me think of, there was a Bill Barnwell tweet from Monday Night Football. Bears Vikings.
Chargers? Rams? Are those good teams?
The Rams had Brett Rippon or whatever at quarterback. That was one of the nastiest football games ever.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But the Bill Barnwell tweet was something like, well, the Bears, they were able to score points, but like they like gave up points in a hurry against a Lions team that's averaging like 25 whatever a game.
Yeah.
And Josh Dobbs, in all of his starts, the Vikings have averaged 26 points a game. And I was like, I don't like what this tweet is insinuating, that the Josh Dobbs Vikings offense is just as good as the Lions offense. Like, that's, man, Josh Dobbs. How does it feel for everybody to see your butt cheeks on national television?
Jesus.
Like, he was so bad. Like,
bad.
Jeremy, like, it was to a point where it was like, okay, yeah, Nick Mullins, maybe. Like, Nick Mullins, maybe.
Maybe. I think it was a bad game for him. That's it.
4 interceptions.
Okay, but 2 of those went off his receiver's hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but one of the interceptions was so bad that was like, dude, you're just trying to do too much. Like,
yeah.
You're trying,
Like, I mean, well, he's doing the same thing that Justin Fields was, which is just standing in the pocket forever and just not making a decision.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about, like, if you have Dobbs or if you have Fields, why aren't you like that? Like, just put him on the move. Like,
but you can only do that for so much in a game. You're going to tire him out. You're going to get him injured. Like, you have to be able to throw from the pocket to be an NFL. Like, it's not what Patrick Mahomes isn't on the move every time.
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. You're totally right. You're totally right. It's just, I guess maybe it's like I didn't see enough of it. Where it's like you have to try something else, because like from the pocket he was just not making it happen. So,
you know what the Bears should have tried a couple more times and probably would have won by, I don't know, 2 more scores.
Throwing
just a couple wide receivers,
5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, just a couple more wide receiver screens. They probably would have just blown that game out.
That was like the meme of the night, right?
I was watching the St. Brown podcast right before we went on, and Amon was asking, like, what the hell is up with that, man? Like, why was every single pass to the sideline? And Equanimity was like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
There was one, oh man, I think it was like it was late in the game. I think it was like a 3rd down play that they ran a screen to DJ Moore, and St. Brown just like whiffed on a block.
Oh yeah, they talked. It was right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
They talked about that too, because he also had a pancake in that game. They're like, yeah, I had a couple really good blocks, including pancake. Then Amos was like, yeah, but what happened on that last one? It's like, oh man, it's the worst. It's the worst feeling.
It has to be the worst feeling, right? Because like once you know that guy gets by you, you're like, dude, that's all on me.
Yep.
On me.
And everyone saw it, and you're gonna get replayed in slow mo.
Yeah, but
at the same time,
yeah.
I mean, when you throw it 18 times like that in a game, at some point, a cornerback's going to be aggressive and run right by the blocker, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Eberflus is just like a walking meme. Like every time the camera cut to him, he was just doing something hilarious. Like I think it was the remember the challenge flag that he threw? Where there was I think it was like a completed pass to, can't remember who it was. I think a Vikings receiver, and he was like trying to challenge it. It was incomplete, and like the ref came over, and like Eberflus just like has the ref around the shoulder. He's kind of like, I was like, that. It killed me. Like in the moment, I was like, dude, like.
Nick the Greek, thanks for the 100 bits. I'm gonna choose not to read that one. But it is past 9:00, chat, and I don't want to say you guys failed, because we've raised almost $19,000, and that would be ridiculous to call that a failure. But we did not reach $19,000 quite this stream, which is fine. We'll just do it during the Madden Sim, which will be the next time that we're live.
A lot like the Lion season, right? Like 8-2, they could have been 9-2, but they fell short.
Right, we're still 8-3.
There's always next stream. There's always the New Orleans Saints. There's always like another opportunity to get it back on track. That's what Jeremy's saying.
And that opportunity will be the Madden Sim, where we will be live from about 10 a.m. to noon, typically. And that will be true this week. We'll also be doing the podcast the night of. Might even jump in on the post-game show if we do a little post-game show, since it's an away game. but probably not. I don't know. Either way, we'll do the main POD cast Sunday night. We'll have Monday off so that we can prepare for the big stream on Tuesday. So if you're saving up, Tuesday, 8 a.m. to midnight, live the entire freaking time. Guests, games, Q&As, shenanigans, fart spray, crickets, Bean Boozled as cereal, pickle juice.
Yum, yum, yum. Oh, yeah. Maybe instead of milk, I'll do pickle juice.
With your Bean Boozled?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Or is that cheating? I feel like I enjoy that too much. I'll do.
You would
I'll do
like
milk.
Bean Boozled sitting in pickle juice, spooning that in your mouth.
I think the thing that I think it would ruin the integrity of the bean. Do you know what I mean? Like the pickle juice, I feel like would, wouldn't it have an impact on the integrity of the flavor of the bean?
Probably.
More so than milk? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's studies out there that probably show this.
That's gross. All this is gross. All right. I think it's time to get out of here. Let's go find somewhere. Yeah. Oh, Matthew, you're over on YouTube. What's up, Matt? Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. And you know what, Matthew, you're welcome to come back if you want for that. We're gonna have some of our other First Byte guests back, because one of our guys, Kyle, I'm not D Dominicano, something like that. Chargers
D
blogger.
Dominicantano.
There it is. He cracked an egg on the stream for charity.
That was wrong, by the way.
Huh?
I think that was wrong, by the way.
It was close enough.
Yeah, it was close enough.
Kyle D. But
Kyle
anyways.
D.
Yeah, so
Dusty owes us eggs.
Dusty, yep. He might join the stream or he might just send us a video that we'll watch. But yeah, before we go, who's going to have more wins after their season, Lions or Pistons? I will say I looked into this question already today just out of curiosity to see how many wins the Pistons were on track to having. And it was like, I think it was like 9.5 or like 10.
Like it would be, I would 100% say the Lions if you said the Pistons get to play for as long as the Lions play. How many wins? Like, do you think that the Pistons will have as many wins as the Lions? And I would say no.
You mean like by January 10th or something?
No, by February.
Sorry.
Look at you already give up. Losing faith.
I thought we were just talking about the regular season.
No. I said all the games.
All right. We are going to send you over to our friend, That Dude Dev. He is a Madden streamer. He is a Chicago Bears fan. But we are going to go over there and we're going to thank him because those Chicago Bears helped the Lions out big time. So, D. Dominicantano. There you go.
Joshua Mercer said I nailed his name.
Yeah.
Yay.
So go over there, have a good time over at Dev's stream. Maybe throw in a, hey, good job, Bears. Make him feel good. Sound good? All right. We'll see you guys Saturday for the Madden Sim, Sunday for the post game, and Tuesday for the blowout stream. But until then, guys, see you later.
Bye.